Right. So I was just updating this show. Well, the text that I'm supposed to use for the show. So basically what you're looking at today is, or right now, a redo of last night's episode. Last night we had a couple of audio issues that people complained about, and so I decided to do over the show today. So what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about online payments in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm going to be going over pretty much everything that you need to be considering when you're doing online payments. Um, this is my second show. The show is called Caribbean Digital, obviously, as you know. And last week, what I covered was how I got into this. I went through most of my history, not every single detail, but enough of it to actually give you some kind of idea as to how I got into this. Probably a little bit about my perspective and so forth and so forth. So I'm not going to spend too long this morning with respect to intros, but I'm going to take a quick check and see if anybody is online. I know it's what 11:25, so it's just before lunchtime. So some of you all are probably, I don't know, taking an early lunch or pretty much very much into your work day. So I'm gonna just take a quick look see and see if I see anyone. All right. So no one has arrived yet, and that's fine. One thing you need to know when you're doing these lives is that more than most likely, most of the views are going to happen after your show has aired live. And so it's no different for me. So I'm just going to proceed with my content and let's do it. So the name of today's program basically is about getting paid online in Trinidad and Tobago. And so I have a title here and it says how to choose a payment processor that fits your size and type of business without all the technical minutia you don't want to know. Now, I put in that last line for a reason. One of the things that I try to do in this work is to keep as much of the technical details away from my clients as much as possible. There are times when you can't avoid it, and there are other times you really don't need to know all those details. You just want to get what you need to get so that you can do what you need to do. So, hence the title. All right. So, let's move on. All right. So, what's the problem? Right? Typically, we're trying to solve a problem in every business, and you have a problem just like anybody else. And the problem is this: people are less inclined to go shopping because of the coronavirus. So, I'd like to take my business online, and I'm speaking as if I'm you. I'd like to take my business online, but I am unsure of how to get paid if I do so. So, my job, Jason, my job is to ensure that after this presentation, you are confident as to which payment provider's service you should use based on where you are in your business life. How does that sound? Anybody out there? Okay, nobody up till now. So that's fine. Let's move on. So, what will we be covering in this webinar this morning? One, the most important things you need to consider when choosing a payments provider. That's one. We're going to have payment service providers listed according to your needs. We're going to talk about why some payment service providers did not make the list. We're going to talk about the coming wave that is going to fully usher in the era of e-commerce in TNT. We're going to give a breakdown of 4 payment providers by cost of setup and approximate monthly costs. And we're going to talk about why signing up for a service provider does not mean customers will buy from you and what you can do about it. But first, obviously, if you're going to listen to me, you kind of want to know a little bit about me. And I am not so foolish enough to think that I am that popular right now that I don't have to introduce myself. So I'm going to introduce myself. Hey, all right. Shaq, how you doing? So who is Jason Arthur? Well, I've been involved in internet marketing for 18 years. Started it in 2003 and well, now it's 2021. Been involved in programming for all of those years. For some reason or the other, when I got involved in internet marketing, I got involved with a couple of programmers within like maybe the first few months, and I've always been involved since, doing a lot of programming work. I've built at least one website for myself. Typically, when I get into something, I like to try to do it myself, depending on what it is. Not everything, of course. And just so I can get a technical understanding of what's going on, so that when I go to hire, I actually know what I'm hiring for. So, built one website myself and supervised the construction of at least seven, six of which you will see on the following slides. This is for sexologist Onika Henry, my website, PNM a few years ago, Tobago Association for Returning Residents, an ongoing project. Nigel De Freitas, the aquaculture specialist, excuse me, Ruth Cumberbatch Designs. I've directed the creation of a number of applications, calculators, and other tools to include Trade Receiver. This is for trading stocks, cryptocurrencies, indices, and Forex. This is a picture of it. Something called an annual returns generator. It basically is a simple form filler, and it comes with a tutorial and it lets you produce neat and accurate annual returns with no fuss. And here's a picture of it. And I created a simulator to show people how tax write-offs work. Um, Basically, how the simulator works is you enter your information purchasing a vehicle. We use a vehicle in particular. And on one side, you purchase it as a regular person. And on the other side, you purchase it as a business person. And it just runs the calculation so you can see the tax benefits for you. So this is what you're seeing here. One side is personal, the other side is commercial. Built my own membership site for Jason Arthur Consulting as well as for two others. I even wrote a book from start to finish, in addition to directing all the artwork and had it listed in Amazon for sale. Here's the book, How to Grow Tilapia for Fun and Profit. And I wrote it with Nigel De Freitas. You saw him a few slides earlier. And I have a series of testimonials of people I've been working with, but I'm not going to spend time on that. But most importantly, with respect to this morning's topic, I've registered for and used no less than 7 payment processors. So I'm not going to be talking to you this evening about what I think and what I feel and what I've heard. Maybe in one case, a little bit of what I've heard, but I've experienced and worked with all these payment processors that I'm talking about. Well, with the exception of one. All right. And of course, that's the experience I'm calling on. But if someone ever asks, do me a favor and just tell them the following. Jason Arthur is a digital marketing consultant who helps small businesses create marketing campaigns that predictably bring in clients week in and week out. That's basically the idea, right? So I'm not saying forget about all the stuff that I just spoke about, but ultimately all of that stuff puts me in a position to do this that you see on the screen. All right, so let's move on. So what's the moment? What's the moment that we're in right now? By a show of hands, how many of you can say that the pandemic has hurt your business? Well, Shaq, you're the only one here. So, has it hurt your business? Yes. If it hasn't, no. You're a musician, so it's almost automatically a yes. Has it hurt your business, Shaq? Yes. No. So I have to wait on Shaq 'cause there's a slight delay when you ask questions using, you know, when you go live. So it may take, 20, 25, 30 seconds. So I'm just going to wait a little bit. Right. So he says most definitely. And I'm going to assume, I'm not going to wait this time, I'm going to assume that you believe going online can help your business. So what's the opportunity? Well, Shaq and anybody else who watches this later on, how many of you know that the banks in Trinidad are on a serious push to get everyone in Trinidad and Tobago who has a bank account a Visa debit card? A Visa debit card linked to their bank account. When I went to school in the US in 96, by I think January of the next year, 97, they had requested that we bring in our debit cards. We had those regular debit cards, and they gave us Visa debit cards. That was 1997, 24 years ago. We are now pursuing that. Excuse me. And I'm wondering how many people understand that the greatest push that will ever be made to going online, fully online, um, is probably going to be executed within the next 2 years, right? This coronavirus pick things up and they are pushing and they're not going to stop. And part of the reason they're not going to stop is because the coronavirus and any other pandemic that comes makes things so uncertain that we have to have an alternative to have commerce still freely flowing. And the only way is for people to be able to sit in their houses and conduct business. And the only way to do that is to give them the ability to do it. And credit cards not going to cut it because everybody doesn't qualify for a credit card. So the other way is these debit cards. Even your other small business shack, okay, get you. And so now is the time to establish yourself as someone who has all your ducks in a row, from payments to customer service to delivery. Now is the time. Well, what's the problem? How do I get paid easily with as little headache as possible? Right. So what I'm going to do this morning, the meat of what I'm going to do this morning is get into how to pick a payment service provider, right? There are all types of payment service providers out there. I am basically going to go through one by one the things you need to consider when picking a payment service provider. So let's go on. All right. So let's start with your business. I mean, I have your business model, but maybe that's stretching it a little bit. But your business, where is your business right now? And you'll see what I mean as we go on. So one, do you have a website? Do you not have a website? Why does this matter? It matters because not all of the payment service providers will work with you if you do not have a website. Are you a registered business or a non-registered business? Why does this matter? It matters because not all of the payment service providers will work with non-registered businesses. Do you sell services, physical products, digital products, subscriptions? This matters because not all of the payment service providers can accommodate subscription-based businesses. And a subscription-based business is a business where somebody signs up with you once to debit their credit card, and you debit their credit card right around the same time every month, every 30 days. Not all of the service providers give you that feature. Are you a business that needs to plow back its cash ASAP once it's been earned? All right. Or you're a business that can wait as long as 10 business days to receive your money. Why does this matter? It matters because not all of the payment service providers are as prompt with getting your money to you. Some of them, you can get your money in an hour. Others, it could take you as much as 10 working days to get back your money after they've done all the processing and so forth or whatever. And are you going to be doing a lot of daily transactions, or it's going to be pretty small, like maybe 1 to 10 transactions per day? Why does this matter? Because, quite frankly, not all of the service providers on this list are that heavily manned that they can deal with, a lot of customer service inquiries, and not necessarily a lot from you, but in the quantum in terms of the number of people they're servicing. But we'll get into it a little bit more. And are you eager to get going now, or are you willing to wait 4 to 8 weeks or possibly more to get fully set up? And why does that matter? Again, some of the service providers will not set up that quickly. And are you someone who needs his or her business registered outside of Trinidad and Tobago? Or maybe this doesn't apply to you at all. All right, so let's move on. All right, so let's go through each criterion and see if we can figure out which best suits you. But let's do a quick recap. Whether you do or do not have a website, whether your business is registered or not, whether you do or do not sell subscriptions, whether you need to get back your cash ASAP, whether you're going to be doing a lot of transactions per day or not, whether you want to get going ASAP or not, and whether you want your business to be registered outside of Trinidad and Tobago or not. So now that we know the criteria to be used, let's identify each of the service providers on my list and then match them against the criteria. Right. So I said before, I'm looking at 4 payment service providers, right? So let's go through them. So we have Social Pay, local Trinidad and Tobago company. WePay, another local Trinidad and Tobago company. Stripe, somebody you've heard of. They are based in the US, I believe. And First Atlantic Commerce, I think they're in the Bahamas. I think that's where they are. Um, you're not working directly with them. You're actually going through your local banks here in Trinidad and Tobago, Royal Bank, Republic Bank, Scotia Bank, First Citizen Bank, I think CIBC. But all of them use First Atlantic to do all the processing online and so forth, or whatever the case may be. So I just call them First Atlantic rather than calling them individual banks. Yeah. But this is basically the banks. All right. So social pay. Social pay is for you if you do not have a website. If you don't have a website, social pay is fine with that. They will give you something called pay links. And how a pay link would look is, let's say you go on Facebook and you have a Facebook shop and you have a bunch of products listed there. Under the product, you will have a link. And that link would be for someone to pay for that product. So that person would click on that link and it will take them to a payment processing page where they will enter whatever details they need to enter, name, blah, 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 email, and so forth, and the amount of the product they want, and press a button, and the payment goes through. It goes to social pay, and then they take out their percentage, and then they reimburse you the rest of it. So you don't have to have a website with social pay. As well, if a business is not registered, last time I checked with them, they were working with businesses that were not registered. The other businesses that I'm talking about, or the other payment service providers, they're not going to work with you in that regard. If you sell subscriptions, oddly enough, they will work with you if you sell subscriptions. And if you need to get back your cash ASAP, as far as I know, you get your money back from social pay within about 2 to 3 days, right? And if you want to get going ASAP, and ASAP in this case is about 2 days, 2 to 3 days, you sign up and pretty much you will be able to get going within about 2 to 3 days. WePay. I would say that WePay is for you if you have a website and you do traditional e-commerce. Um, and when I say that, what I mean is you have an e-commerce website and somebody needs to go through a flow just as if you're on Bath and Body Works or Amazon or whatever. They click a button, it's paid, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't work that easily with social pay. Social pay for some reason isn't set up to do that, but they their code can be manipulated to do that. I did it with my programmer before, but it's not as a smooth process. So if I were going that route or this route here, I would prefer to go with them. WePay, that is. Certainly, your business has to be registered. Um, but WePay is not for you if you sell subscriptions. Up to this point, for some reason, they're not doing subscriptions. Again, pretty strange because Social Pay, who uses First Atlantic, and First Atlantic you'll keep hearing over and over, and WePay, who also uses First Atlantic as their backbone. Um, Social Pay is doing subscriptions, WePay isn't. Not sure why, but the point is, if you are doing subscriptions, WePay will not work for you. Also not for you if you want to get your cash back. I use WePay, And last time I tried to get my money back, it took me probably about 9 days or something like that. So if you need to get your money back quicker than that, then WePay might be problematic for you. Um, as well, if you're doing a lot of transactions, and we're probably talking about like 100 transactions a day or more, something like that, and most of the people on this call, that's not going to apply to. Um, WePay, because they're using First Atlantic, sometimes if there are queries, they have to turn around. So you query them, and then they have to turn around and go to First Atlantic, right? Maybe not for everything, but certainly for some things. And depending on the kind of traffic you have and the number of queries that may come up because of the traffic you have, that could be, a delay for you. Again, for most of the people on this call, it's not going to matter. Yeah. So let's go on. Um, if you want to get going ASAP, when I signed up with them, it took like 2 days to get approval. As far as business is concerned, that's pretty much ASAP in the business world. If your business is registered outside of Trinidad and Tobago, I don't know that it's going to work for you. Now, of course, WePay operates in Guyana, Jamaica, of course, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and I believe St. Lucia. So if your business is registered outside of Trinidad and Tobago and it's in those countries, then you should be fine. But typically, no. All right. First Atlantic. First Atlantic is for you if you have a website, your business is registered, if you do subscriptions and you want to customize your look and feel as much as possible. First Atlantic reminds me of some other payment service providers where you can pretty much just customize every little nitty-gritty thing so everything flows and feels like you. When you use social pay, you get taken to this funny looking page and all that stuff and whatever the case may be. Not so it seems to me with First Atlantic. You're able, not seems, not so you can customize certain things a little bit more. So again, this would probably matter to people who have much bigger businesses and they have, what we call a brand and they want to look in a particular way and so forth. If you need to get back your cash, First Atlantic, I haven't gone through the banks. This is the only one that I'm more hearing about. But I mean, I spoke to them, and I have a couple of friends who use them. And from what they told me, you get your money back probably by the next day. I haven't heard anybody say 2 days. All right, so 2 days might be the max, but pretty much you get your money back the next day. And again, if you're going to be doing a lot of transactions, if you have queries, the buck stops with them. So you go to them, you don't have any other intermediary to go through or anything like that. So works. Not for you if you want to go start now. And the reason I say that is this: when you contact FAC directly, they respond very quickly. But if you're trying to get an account in Trinidad and Tobago, they're going to kick you back to the banks, right? Because their relationship is with the banks and your relationship is going to be with a bank. The thing is, the banks seem to be slow. I know I contacted First Citizen Bank twice, no response up till now. And I'm talking going on 2 months, 3 months. But I was told that's the kind of snail's pace kind of thing that's going on. So I really don't know when the banks are going to really get on this thing. But I'm telling you, for me, for my part, I would sign up with WePay first. And if I figured I really want to go with FAC, start the process. And whenever it gets through, it gets through. But I could actually get going with WePay. Stripe. Stripe, I have a Stripe account as well. And Stripe is for you if for some reason you need to have your business registered outside of Trinidad and Tobago. Um, we shouldn't say or not there. The thing about it is that for some reason or the other, there are a couple of people that I spoke to who wanted their businesses registered outside of Trinidad and Tobago. Um, if you did that, um, I really like Stripe. I like the interface. I like the fact that they're pretty well known and well entrenched in the industry. The rates are pretty good, and they work with all kinds of different other third party software and stuff like that. So I like them for that. Um, But to work with Stripe, your business will have to be registered in the US or Canada or some of these other G7 countries. So if for some reason you want your company registered outside, if you do that, I would say go with Stripe. The other thing is this, um, if you do not expect 10% or more of your customers to be local, so you're expecting less than 10% to be local, then you can use Stripe. And the reason for that is this. If, let's say 90% of your customers are from Trinidad and Tobago, then how many of those customers who can purchase online have credit cards versus Visa debit cards? If, let's say, 20% of those people have credit cards, then yeah, they can go through Stripe, not a problem at all, because Stripe processes in US dollars and some other currencies, but the point is they don't process in TT dollars. If the balance, and indeed the most of your clients who are from Trinidad and Tobago are using Visa debit cards, even when those Visa debit cards are able to start processing online, they're going to be processing in TT dollars. So you don't want to be using a company like Stripe who's not going to process those cards because then you're going to lose most of your sales. So I would say you have to be very careful. If most of your customers are from Trinidad and Tobago, I don't think you want to use, a foreign processor or a processor who is not First Atlantic, because of course First Atlantic is not from Trinidad and Tobago. So I guess somebody could say foreign processor, but the point is, First Atlantic is set up to take TT dollars out of people's credit cards as well as debit cards. So that's where I would go, if the bulk of my customers were from Trinidad and Tobago. Definitely, you're going to have a website and your business has to be registered. And it's great for you if you sell subscriptions, not a problem at all. You want to get back your money now? You can get your money in your hand in less than an hour with Stripe. Number of transactions a day, not an issue. But it's not great if you want to get going. To set up with Stripe, you're going to have to register your company in the US. Um, it's a long process. When I say long, I'm talking about 2 months. Possibly 2.5 months, but it takes around 2 months to do. So if you want to get going right now, Stripe might not be the best for you. All right. So let's get into so while I was doing the research for this, well, some of it was research about stuff that I really didn't know, and a lot of it was stuff that I knew because I have all these, payment companies. But one of the things that I found out was that some entities are being touted as payment processors. Now, even that in and of itself is a technical term. But when I say payment processor, I mean somebody who, when you sign up with them, you can now start receiving payments. That's what I mean, right? And some people have been touting some names, and they don't work like that. So, Figaro, many of you all have probably seen this online somewhere. Figaro. And a couple of people are saying that they're a payment processor, like Social Pay or one of these others. They're not, right? So there's a question that I typically ask people. What comes to mind when someone says you'll be able to start receiving payments after having signed up with a particular entity, which is what people are saying. If you sign up with Figaro, you are going to be able to get payments. So what comes to your mind? Well, that you'll be able to start receiving payments after signing up with that entity. Correct? Well, again, that can't happen with Figaro. And the reason for that is that Figaro is not a payment processing entity. I'm not going to try to necessarily define what they are. They have a legit business model. They have a relationship, I think, with it might be FCB. So it's not an illegitimate company, but it's not what people think it is. Now, this is a conversation I had with Figaro, so I'm not just telling you what I think or feel or whatever the case may be. I literally had a conversation with Figaro. And here's the question I asked. I said, hey there, if I only signed up for one of your monthly plans, but didn't have a PayPal account or a merchant account. Now, the PayPal account, if I had one, that means I can get paid. The merchant account, if I had a merchant account, it also means I can get paid. So if I didn't have a PayPal account or a merchant account with one of my local banks in Trinidad and Tobago, would I be able to do payments through your company using your pay links? So I'm basically asking them, based on the experience I had signing up with them, I realized, wait a minute, I am going to them to sign up so that I can get paid. But the questions they are asking me pretty much amount to, are you already able to get paid? And could you enter the information from the entity that you are using to get paid into our system? But remember, I went to them to sign up to be able to get paid. Um, so bottom line, I asked that question, and the guy says to me, thanks for contacting us. In order to receive your funds, you must have an account or a merchant account or PayPal one. Right? Sorry, you must come, but this was supposed to be come. You must come with an account, a merchant account or a PayPal. So this guy is telling you that you can't sign up with their company unless you already have a way to get paid. So clearly, if you sign up with them, they don't help you get paid. They're doing something else, but it's not what people think they're doing. So I've seen this company called in the same vein with Social Pay and BuzzPay, but it's not the same thing. When you sign up with Social Pay, you can start getting paid. If you sign up with BuzzPay, from what I've been told, because I haven't been able to successfully do it, you're able to get paid supposedly. Not with Figaro. You already have to be able to have a. You already have to be able to get paid. So I'm not going to spend too long on that. So why did I leave out certain entities? I just mentioned BuzzPay. BuzzPay was confusing. I tried to sign up for BuzzPay. Now remember, I've been in programming for 18 years. I tried to sign up for BuzzPay just like I signed up for Social Pay and Figaro. And for the life of me, I could not figure out how to get it to work. So then the next day I called my program and I said, hey, I want you to try this out because I'm saying to myself, okay, I know I'm fairly technical, but maybe I need to give it to him to see if he can work it because maybe I missed something. And he tried to sign up with it and he couldn't either. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying they don't work. Maybe they do. But I can't recommend any tool that is going to cause the people who normally come to me for advice a headache. As I said very early on in the presentation, I try to avoid headaches for people as much as possible. And I thought this was pretty much a headache. So let's take a quick look at the approximate cost of doing business with each of these processes. All right, so I think we are on the wrong screen. All right, so show the processes. So let's pretend that I have here month one and month two. And the reason for that is the first month, you're going to spend your setup costs. And then after that, you just have your running costs. So let's pretend we're in the first month and you're doing 10 transactions per day. And each transaction is worth $1,000. Now we're using a 30-day month to do our calculations. So it's going to be 10 by 1,000, right? Which is $10,000. And it's by 30 days, so we should get $300,000. And exactly, we have $300,000. But let's go up here. So to set up First Atlantic, I know there's a setup fee in there of about $250. Nothing for these others. Registration, well, you don't have to go through any registration necessarily for Social Pay and WePay and First Atlantic. Now, of course, if you're not a registered business, you would have to with these. But I'm just going to assume you have a registered business. But with Stripe, even though you have a registered business, because you have to register in the US, it's going to cost you around $3,000 to register. You're pretty much going to need a developer to do integration for all three of these for sure. With Social Pay, You don't need a developer if you're just using like pay links and stuff like that. But if for some reason, as I mentioned earlier, you decide to use social pay by modifying it to make it work for, like, let's say you have a WordPress site or something like that, then it will cost you some money to modify it. So these are pretty much the one-time costs. Then we come down here, uh, gross transactions, $300,000, and you go down. Social pay, 3% is their charge. So this is what you get. We pay, it's 3%, 3.5% plus, I forget how much. So each transaction is a percentage plus a flat figure. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the flat figure is. First Atlantic, 5% is as much as I've heard that the banks will charge you. 5%. Now, some people get it less, but I'm putting worst case scenario, 5%. Plus, there's about a $200 fee that has to be paid to First Atlantic. Because remember, they're in this as well. They're the backbone. And then, so First Atlantic is making its money and the bank is making its money. That's why you see this here. Stripe, it's 2.9% plus something, I don't know, 30 cents or something like that or whatever. Again, I can't remember exactly. But this is basically how it breaks down, right? And so you see your net payment, blah, 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 blah. Now, let's go to month 2 and do the same thing, right? So let's do $10. Let's do $1,000 and let's hit calculate. So nothing up here, because of course we don't have to deal with this anymore. We now just have running costs. And so you can immediately see that, worst scenario is probably going to be First Atlantic with the banks, right? That's probably going to be your worst scenario. We pay, not so bad, but you're going to get your money, well, a little bit late or a lot later than everybody else. And then you have social pay, and then you have Stripe. All right. So just a quick look. I didn't want to spend too much time on it. Just wanted you to get an idea. All right. So back to the presentation. And we don't have long again. So, all right. So you can get paid. You signed up with one of these and you're able to get paid. But as you see here, I have why having a payment processor doesn't guarantee people will purchase from your website and what to do about it. So let me give a quick story. A few years ago, I built a website for my girlfriend to sell clothing from. It was called Tobago Chic. And when it was launched, I told her the first issue she'd have is one of trust. In Trinidad and Tobago, we're not really accustomed putting our credit card information in for local merchants. We're fine with Amazon and maybe Bath and Body Works and blah, 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 but local merchants, we're not really sure of. Why? Because we're unaccustomed in this space to doing debit and credit card transactions with relatively unknown businesses. And of course, we're mindful of the next scam. So what happened? Within a short time after launching, she started running ads and started getting messages. The following was one of the first messages she got. So this person says, okay, how do I know it's safe? Now let me skip to the next slide so you can see the question. Okay, how I'm sure it's safe. All right. And she answered, all purchases have an international secured page which can be verified, blah, 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 HTTP, yada, yada, yada. But the point is, I'm not making this up. People are concerned. And so the thing about it is, you go through the trouble and you get signed up and you have a payment service, but then people are scared to pay you. Well, it's not going to apply to everybody. Some people are going to take the chance and do it because they think you look legit enough, but others aren't. And to the extent that that happens over and over again, you're going to lose money. So let's see what we can do about it. So how do we combat this distrust online? And how do we prepare for the onslaught of merchants going online soon, which is bound to attract at least a few bad actors who will threaten to spoil things for the rest of us? We know this is going to happen. The answer lies in figuring out, what do people trust? We know they trust Amazon, and we know they trust other brands. We also know that we are not other brands. However, what if we could associate ourselves with brands they trust and benefit from the trustworthiness that will be inferred from simply being associated with these brands? What if we could do that? Well, it just so happens that this kind of thing has been done for years, and it's a practice that simply involves adopting trust signals on your site in a prominent enough manner so users feel comfortable. All right. So, without getting too deep into it, I want to show you the results of a test on the trustworthiness that certain symbols or logos inspire. So if you look here, you might recognize some of these immediately. PayPal, Norton, Google Trusted Score, Visa, Trustee, Authorize.net, blah, 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 blah. So you must be familiar with the fact that you've gone to many websites and, sometimes on the very first page of the website, but certainly by the time you get to the place where you're going to be spending money, you notice that you see all these different types of signs and this and that, and you feel comfortable. You see Trustee, you see Norton, and you feel good, right? Um, but with this experiment, they tried to see which one of these symbols inspired the most trust or engendered the most trust. And it was PayPal, right? And so typically, if you have PayPal on your website, people feel good. Of course, a number of you watching this now know that it has been difficult to get PayPal. And even if you get PayPal, they're not the most ideal. So what do we do? Well, I kept doing research, found some more, and you see Trustee again and Norton and so forth. This is another experiment done by somebody else. And I eventually settled on a company called Trustee. Now, what you're seeing here is a regular checkout, Bath and Body Works, PayPal. People see this, they feel comfortable, right? But if you don't have this, what are you going to use? So I settled on a company called Trusted Site. Now, Trusted Site is not seen in any of the examples I just gave you, but I know they work because I checked them out. Experiments were ran using them, and they actually beat out a lot of the people on the other pages. But the reason I went with them, or I'm recommending them versus anybody else, is that they were the most reasonable. I think they cost like about maybe about $30 US per month. And I think that's something that's affordable for somebody here in Trinidad and Tobago, especially if you compare it to how many sales might you lose. So if you could do 100 sales for $100 a month, which is $10,000, but you're losing 20% of those sales, 30% of those sales because people don't trust you, then I think this is a good exchange, right? Um, 20% of $10,000 is $2,000. If you're spending about $200 on this service to make 2,000, so that's 2,000 minus 200, $1,800 profit. I don't think that's a bad investment. So they are a good investment for you if you've already gone ahead and you can get paid. Don't lose out sales because people don't trust you. And when you go to the second page here, you just kind of see magnified all over your website at different locations. You're going to have this. Clearly, this is a checkout page, and you're going to see it. And people are going to be able to click on these links, and they'll see it'll say website address verified, email address verified, phone number verified, actual physical address verified, all that kind of stuff. So they go through all of this kind of stuff with you to make sure that they can attest as a third party that you, whatever your name is, and whatever your website name is, are a legit company. So that's pretty much it. As an intro to payments, I didn't want to go too much more deeper than this because I thought, this would be enough to get some juices flowing and certainly get some comments and questions. So, guys, tell me, what do you think? Um, right now, the only person here is Mr. Shaq. I don't know if anybody else is listening, at least live. But don't be afraid that if you come here and you don't actually see me and I'm not live, ask the question. I'm still gonna come back to this stuff and answer the questions. So it doesn't have to be live, but just ask your questions and ask them as the live or the recorded version is going on. As you get the question, ask it because you don't have to wait till the end anymore, right? Because it's not live. So just ask your question. I'm going to come in and answer. So, Shaq, you still there? Do you have any questions? So I'm gonna wait a little bit because there's normally a delay on these lives, 25 to 30 seconds, possibly more sometimes, and see if Shaq has any question. And if he doesn't, then I'm gonna cut the live. All right. I'm gonna give him about 10 more seconds and see if he has any questions. Hmm. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I said before, this is a do-over of my second show of Caribbean Digital, and it was dedicated to how to process online payments in Trinidad and Tobago. So there's nobody else on the call as far as I know. Shaq seems to have left. And so I'm going to end the live here and have a fantastic day. And like I said, ask your questions. And don't forget, Caribbean Digital is on every Wednesday at 7 p.m. All right. Bye for now.